All right. A very good morning to you. Once again from San Francisco. The product marketing team is assembled in the room here. We're very excited to kick off the second Meraki Quarterly of 2017. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your day today. We definitely think this will be an exciting session. Always lots of new information to share with you, and we love doing these. Let's have a look at the agenda. It's very straightforward. We first of all just want to point a couple of things out. So first of all, the Meraki Quarterly is a slightly different kind of a webinar. For those of you who are attending it for the first time, we are assuming that you already have a good level of familiarity with the Meraki portfolio. And so we're obviously going to take you through in detail the sort of new things that we're introducing, but we do have an assumption here that you already have a pretty good understanding already. If you are brand new to Meraki, definitely recommend that you get yourself along to our introductory webinars. They're a great opportunity to get things started right from the ground level, and plus you get the opportunity to bag yourself a free wireless access point. Never hurts. This is all presented by the Meraki product marketing team. Occasionally we get guests. I think we're going to have one today as well. We'll see how the show progresses. It is a retrospective look back over the last quarter, the intent being that we give you a chance to catch up on all of the frenetic activity that our engineers have been up to over the last quarter. There's always a lot happening with Meraki. This is a good opportunity to just sit back for a few minutes and just see what we've been up to. I do also want to stress that this is a roadmap-free zone. So the rules here are that we look back over the last quarter, but obviously if we have anything that has reached the beta phase, then we can obviously share that with you, because we're then keen for you to try it out. And we've got a very exciting example of that coming up for you today, so it's definitely worth staying tuned. All right, so without further ado, it's time to hand over to my illustrious colleague, Mr. Wolf, who's going to talk to us all about enterprise mobility management.
Hello everyone, Paul Wolf here. We like to put our best foot forward and talk about the best solution we have first, but start it with probably our worst photograph there. I'm going to have to get you a new one. I'd like to point out that that was taken on a flip phone at our old mission office though, so that's something. So in case you missed it, what we just did, we're coming out of a time of doing a enterprise mobility management launch. Had a whole myriad of different functionality and features and things that we built into that. So with that, I just want to highlight a few of them. So we did a bunch of things. We have blog posts, we have some materials. We also have a recorded WebEx on that if you want to see kind of the in-depth on them. But I want to kind of get a little bit nerdy on a few of these topics at least. I'll do these 3 bolded line items of per app, always on VPN, Android for work or Android enterprise, and then some onboarding tools. So to start, I want to kick off with a little bit about per app and always on VPN and why these are important. So the first part here is per app VPN. And the way that you can think about this is kind of like setting up a split tunnel VPN connection, but the way that it's split is between different applications on a mobile device. So basically only traffic from the specified apps are sent over the VPN tunnel, only those are encapsulated and sent to home base. So this is great for users because they don't have to remember when to turn on a VPN. You don't have to hope that the domains or subdomains or anything like that are captured correctly. You can basically say that email should get sent over this because we have secure email. They have to be on site or VPN to access it. Or if you're housing like point of sale or anything over a cellular connection, also real important there. It's also worth noting you can put managed domains into this. So if you have something like an intranet, that can also be sent automatically over this tunnel. The other part of this that's important is always on VPN. So what that means is that you don't have to think about, and end users don't have to think about initiating this tunnel. It's basically whenever one of the resources supposed to have access to this try to run, this is automatically executes that VPN and then keeps that tunnel up. So now only the applications that you want to be sent over the VPN on your mobile devices, so that's tablets, phones, as well as laptops, things like that, only those are sent over the VPN, and they're also initiated automatically. So it's a really cool thing there. So this is supported with AnyConnect and Ike v2. And both of those require certificate-based VPN protocols. So up next, we'll talk about Android for Work, or more recently known as Android Enterprise. And what we have here is that we support every part of it. And the reason why I put it that way is because if you actually look at the EMM industry, you are technically an EMM vendor who supports Android for Work if you've gone through the certification process for any of the protocols within it. In our case, we've actually done all of the new ones and anything that's possible to get certified in for Android for Work. So we're really excited, and not just are we an official vendor that supports this, but we actually support all of the protocols. So I'll talk to you about a few use cases that are within that. So one of these is Work Profile. And the idea here is kind of a BYOD, so a bring your own device, or maybe even a choose your own device that the company is allotting to end users. And what this does is this automatically, when you enroll in Systems Manager, it will actually create a separate container on the device. It's going to download the Systems Manager app. It's going to throw in all the right applications that you want into that specific container and keep everything separate from the private or personal part of that device. So this is kind of like supporting BYOD right out of the box, and it's really easy to also get users enrolled. You can actually, another protocol that we've added for this is we actually talk to Google's backend so that you can actually manage a domain and point us towards that. Good example, we have a Google Apps account around Meraki.net. So if I go to any old Android device and I try to add my email account to it, it will actually say that this is a managed EMM account. So you have to enroll in Systems Manager, tells me what that means, what an administrator can do, and then automatically does everything in the background. So it's pretty cool functionality. We also have some more of the entire device ownership stuff, like kiosk mode. You can actually specify one or a multiple of apps that are only allowed on that device, and then they're locked into that. They can't get out for settings, they can't get out for anything else, or different things like that. Finally here, you have the organization owned mode, which is actually called device owner in the Android world. This basically makes it so that you have control and more control and restrictions over the entire device itself. So maybe end users can only install approved apps, or they can't use specific accounts or settings and things like that. So if you're familiar with Systems Manager, you may have been really happy with all of the Apple functionality that you've used and seen in it in the past, and we've made it extremely competitive in the Android world. We're really leading this charge too. So it's a good time to check that out, especially if you have multiple device types. So finally, the last thing that I'll leave you with here, we have a whole slew of new functionality around onboarding. So if you're not familiar with Systems Manager, there's no better time than now to actually get into the portal and try this out. If you already have other Meraki equipment or an account, something of that sort, it's easy to ask your rep for a free trial. We can get you started. We have all of these tools to walk you through what it entails using the different device types to actually get started and start enrolling stuff. So that's about the time I was allowed today, so I'm going to hand it back over to Simon.
Thank you, Paul. As always, very exciting news on Systems Manager. There's so much going on with that tool all the time. So hopefully you'll have a chance to try some of these out in your own time. Obviously, Systems Manager is available as part of our trial program as well. One thing I forgot to point out right at the start, I just wanted to quickly mention, is that we do have the option for you to ask questions. We've got a couple of people in the room who can answer questions, so please use the Q&A panel. And I just want to remind you all that as this is a roadmap-free zone, we reserve the right to ignore any questions relating to the future. All right, I'm going to hand things over to Emily, who's going to take us through wireless.
Thanks, y'all. That is also a really funny photo. I have to say it is better than my California license photo, so I guess I should be thankful for what I have. All right, so a couple of updates on the wireless front from the last quarter. I think perhaps on the hardware front, the biggest one was we did introduce our new general purpose wireless access point generally for more rugged and industrialized use cases. That's the MR74. Now this is an 802.11ac Wave 2 update in many ways to the MR72, and in fact in March, we did announce the end of sale for the MR72. So that is in effect April 30th. So to the end of this month, I believe you can still go out and get an MR72 if you want one. Now, the specs on this are listed here, and I would encourage all of you to check our website and check our data sheets for more details, but effectively this is a 2x2 multi-user MIMO architecture. We do support up to 80 megahertz channels. You've got that 1.3 gigabit per second aggregate dual band data rate, and it's a quad radio access point. So that means we have the 2.4 gigahertz radio, the 5 gigahertz radio, the dual band radio that we use for a dedicated intrusion prevention and detection, as well as auto RF channeling, and then that fourth radio is the integrated Bluetooth BLE. So this is IP67 rated, so it is basically designed for outdoor situations, industrial indoor situations, and it has the same physical dimensions as the MR72 and supports basically omni antennas, patch antennas, sector antennas that we provide, but definitely check the models of the antenna if you're looking for an accessory for this access point. On the feature side, just a couple of announcements. The first one is RF analytics. This is a feature that we basically pushed out to all of our wireless customers a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to see actually if I can demo it, because that might be the best way to sort of show you. But basically on a per AP level, if you are dealing with maybe some spotty RF situations or looking to troubleshoot an access point, this will let you quickly identify your RF events and cross-reference these with useful statistics about things like channel utilization, client count, and AP usage. So let me just see. I do not have a dashboard up, I don't think. Let's see, go this way. I do have a dashboard up. All right, thank you, Rachel. Okay, let's jump in. Really quickly, what we're looking at, of course, is our San Francisco live production network here. So I'm just going to dive into our office really quickly, pull up a highly used access point, and see if we can see any of these RF analytics. So let's just sort by usage real quick and grab this access point here. Basically, if you're inside of an access point configuration page like this, and you want to go in and access these new RF analytics, you're going to come over to this little tab here. And yes, so for the last day, again, for a given time frame, you can come in, you can select the radio that you're interested in getting event data for, and right here you can see that we've had 2 events already in the last day. And so if I were to click on one of these events, I can see details about them if I want. I can see, okay, maybe we're having some packet flood issues, get a little bit more information about it, and I can see that at the exact moment this event was occurring, I can see that I had 8 active clients. I can get a sense for what amount of channel utilization was going to 802.11 traffic, what amount was going to interference, total usage at that time on the AP, and a few other useful statistics. So very cool, and if you actually do want to go in and check out live data, this is also a useful tool. Again, you can slice and dice this data by radio, but you can actually see in real time your channel utilization across a particular radio. So again, if you're just trying to troubleshoot, make sure that everything looks okay on the RF front, this is a very useful, useful view, and it is available to all of our MR customers. And finally, the last sort of announcement I'd like to make about features that were announced for MR wireless access points this past quarter. We did a couple months ago announce some of the new features available with our Apple and Cisco partnership that had finally come to fruition. These were mostly around things like enhanced roaming capabilities on the Meraki APs, and I've listed those for you over there on the right-hand side of the side. Support for 802.11k, V, and R, and as well as fast lanes. So working with Systems Manager, so the ability to sort of deploy quality of service for business critical applications, The main highlight here is that now in Dashboard, you can actually go in and get a sense on a per client basis of what is being supported. So, here, for example, in the typical client view, when you dive into a given network client and you expand out to see the details of the capabilities of the client, we can actually highlight for you things like, whether or not some of these features are on or off, and whether or not they are supported. So that, I think, wraps up the main announcements on the MR front. Hand it over to my good friend and colleague, June.
Thank you, Emily. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Meraki Communications section with June. That is me. I am the Product Marketing Manager here at Meraki for our phone system, the MC, and we have a lot of really exciting announcements. First of all, this last quarter was MC's first venture internationally. So for those of you that have been following us, you know that we launched in the US last year. And just this last quarter, we've now launched in Canada as well. So the same kind of model, simplicity that you're used to with Meraki, where you can just plug and play, zero-touch provisioning and deployment, we've now brought that to phone systems in Canada. And on our back end, we're using a provider called Telnex. So if you haven't heard about us and you are a Canadian customer, highly suggest you contact your rep, try it out for yourselves. Additionally, this quarter has really been a lot of new features for us and a lot of really fun UI improvements as well. So one of the main things that we've been doing over here at Meraki is working on user research and seeing how people interact with their phone systems. So we've done so many different user calls and interviews and watching people dial and all of these really interesting observances of human behavior as it relates to phone systems. One of the really fun things that we realized is that there's this standard of 7-digit dialing. Whenever you have an area code that you are already in, you want to call locally, you don't want to have to dial the area code every single time. And so one of those little things that we've done to improve the experience for our customers is area code inference, where your phone will automatically append the area code that you're in to whatever number that you're dialing so that you only have to dial 7 digits instead of the standard 10, because we know 10 digits, way too many to dial. Additionally, you'll see at the bottom left of the right panel, those are the multi-line appearances. So if you followed us and you came to the last quarterly, you'll remember those were at the top corner. User research actually indicated that that was a little too far away from the call button, and we've changed the UI on the screen to reflect that. One of the main benefits of being able to have a giant screen that we can constantly update, and just another way that we really believe our hardware and our software work tightly integrated. Additionally, we have this really awesome update to our E911 user interface. So this is actually, just a fun fact, this was one of our intern's first projects. So we have an intern these last few months. He's really great. Hopefully you guys get to meet him in the future. But he came in and realized that the UI for E911 could be improved to enhance, user safety. And we wanted to improve it without having it become more complicated, and I think he's done a really good job of doing that, where you can now apply a standard, network-wide E911 address to all of your phone systems. But you can also then go into each phone and automatically update it through the address bar right through Dashboard. If it doesn't match the previous records, so if you move a phone and you want to change the address, it'll update it right through Dashboard, right on the sidebar. Another thing, and this is very new in that I believe that we published a blog post about this week, so this is a brand new feature, but schedule-based IVRs. And this is something that we've heard so many different requests for across a lot of different customers and a lot of different industries, where as a business or a small or school or a lot of different use cases, you want your people that call in to be transferred based on the time of the day. if they're calling in after hours, you can make certain inferences about that. If they're calling in on the weekends, if they're calling in the morning. And this way, we can very quickly and easily schedule your IVRs to be able to reflect those calls, those times of day. And actually, I'm going to show you guys this in Dashboard. So give me a second. There you go. Hopefully everybody can see Dashboard now. And so I'm going to go over to the Phones IVR Menus tab. And if you've seen the phone systems before, hopefully you've seen this page. And to explain, an IVR is really just what you hear when you call into a business and they say, oh, welcome to Tony's Auto Shop. Press 1 for for our hours, press 2 to be transferred to a salesperson, press 3 to, get transferred to somewhere else. And if we go into one of our IVRs, you'll now see that there's this schedule option. It says, when should calls be directed to this menu? And you can have it always on, so whenever somebody calls in this number, they'll get this IVR. But you can also schedule it. So let's say this is really only a IVR for the business hour, or for standard business hours. Let's say 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Oh, sorry, this is military time, 17 o'clock. And once I save this schedule will only be on during those times. And if somebody calls in after those times, I can transfer them directly to my receptionist, and they can skip this whole IVR and, get faster service, more streamlined, etc. So this is a really cool feature and something that, like I said, we've been asked for a lot, and we're really excited now to be able to launch it and have you guys start using it. Additionally, we're constantly making small UI improvements that maybe, can't have their own slide on this page or during this webinar. But one of the few things that I want to call out specifically is if you go into a phone, you can now see the call forwarding status of that phone. So as a dashboard administrator, you can see if end users have call forwarding set up on their phone. Previously, end users could see this on the portal, but now as a dashboard administrator, you can see this as well. Also, you can now go in and change the email address associated with your phone portal right through the portal. Just another one of those small UI improvements. Additionally, and this one's really fun, we had a feature that was launched last night that I'm going to show you, and it wasn't, unfortunately, it didn't have time to get on the slides. But if you go into Phones and Directory, we now have a way for you to download your entire directory into a CSV. If you're trying to make a corporate directory or trying to upload it to somewhere else, you can go right here on the top right corner and press download and then CSV. Our engineers really are working hard every single day trying to bring you new features and new exciting possibilities with your phone. So if you guys haven't seen it before, if you are in the US or Canada, I highly suggest that you check it out. We're constantly improving it. These small UI improvements and big feature releases are happening very, very frequently. So I just think it's really exciting, and it's a really fun time for MC right now. So that is it for me, and I'm going to hand you guys off to my colleague and friend, Rachel Lowe, to talk about cameras.
Thanks, June. Let's see if I can get this working. Maybe not. There you go. So as June mentioned, my name is Rachel, and I am the product marketing manager for MV. So that is, of course, our newest, shiniest product. It is the security camera. Sorry. So what have we been up to this quarter? It's been a really exciting quarter for us. We've come out with a couple new features and improvements. So starting with analytics, we did come out with our motion heat maps tool. So this, of course, shows relative motion throughout a given time period. So you can choose by hour or by day. And we're really excited about this. We've already been hearing back from customers on different use cases. We already expected the obvious ones, for instance, tracking customer behavior through a retail location. However, we've been hearing back about some kind of fun and exciting different use cases that we hadn't expected. So, for instance, the Department of Interiors in Australia is actually using our heat map tool to track grazing patterns of sheep in the countryside. So that's really, it sounds really crazy at first, but it actually makes a lot of sense because we have this sort of hybrid technology where we can process the video on the camera and then store the metadata for that motion in the cloud and easily and quickly access it without using a lot of bandwidth. This makes total sense for that use case where these cameras are being deployed in the countryside where bandwidth is limited and is very expensive. So it's really exciting to hear about how our customers are choosing to use these types of features. It's also obviously a lot easier for them than using alternate technologies like RFID because they can just see everything at a glance, and then if anything looks strange about the sheep behavior, they can actually do a motion search on that camera and actually view what's going on with those sheep. So this feature is not only exciting in and of itself, which it very much is, but it's more so sort of a signal of where we see this product going in the future. We really think that these cameras will be used as a sensor, so not just for security, which it does a great job of, but also being able to provide business intelligence for our customers. Moving on, we also came out with some UI enhancements and updates. So starting with our screenshot tool, just makes it that much easier to do a screen grab of a still from a camera if you need it for evidence or whatever other reason you might have. We also came out with a new UI update for our timeline. So this just makes it that much easier for operators who may not be technical to navigate through cameras and timelines without having to call up their IT administrator. So, you know, a couple of our customers are using these on college campuses, and they have given access to their bookstore managers who want to just keep an eye on what's going on in the bookstore. Obviously, they're not, you know, IT pros, but they're really now able to do all of this without any help. And then finally, this was a big request that we had coming through our Make-A-Wish tool. So it's just a signal to you guys that we are reading those requests that are coming through the Make-A-Wish box. But we've implemented motion search on a video wall. So this is extremely useful if you set up your cameras properly at the beginning. You can do a motion search on one camera in the video wall. All of the video tiles will synchronize to the same time, and then you can kind of track someone or something moving through your office or building without ever having to navigate away from the video wall. So that's a big time saver. So what's next? And I think this deserves a drum roll, as Simon is doing right now. Speaking of requested features through our Make-A-Wish toolbox, the absolute #1 thing that we've been asked for since the beginning is a longer retention time. And we absolutely understand this request. We've said from day one that we know there's lots of regulations and policies in place that have been preventing some of our customers from being able to purchase these cameras and use them. So needless to say, we know it's a really big request for everyone. So we're happy to say today that we are introducing a couple of features that are not quite in beta, but will be in the next week or two. So we're kind of breaking rules here. But these features will help with longer retention time. So starting with scheduling, which sounds just like what it is. You can choose when cameras are recording, when they're not recording. So if you're, for instance, using these cameras to do process control in a factory, and you know that your machines are not running overnight, you can shut them off and potentially double your retention time right away. So depending on use case, you can see a really big increase in your retention time. Now, I know lots of you are thinking, that's great, but that's not helpful for me because I want these cameras to provide security for me 24/7 around the clock. So scheduling is just not going to do it for me, and I still need more retention time. So for those who are thinking that, I'm also very happy to announce that we have now motion-based retention. So this is not to be confused with motion-based recording, which lots of other vendors have on their cameras. Instead of only recording when there's motion, our cameras will actually record all the time, 24/7. They will retain the most recent 72 hours of footage as sort of a safety net. And then after that initial 72 hours, we will begin trimming the video intelligently to remove segments that don't contain any motion. So the really exciting part of this, which I'll show you in a demo, is that retention is on each individual camera's usage. And we have some really cool little analytics tools built in that show you an estimate of what that retention period will be for each camera. So just to illustrate how this works, you have your timeline of video footage. You have some segments that contain motion, indicated by the dotted line here. We take our magical cloud scissors and we trim away that video. And now we have obviously a shorter clip that takes up less memory. So I'm going to come over to this network, and luckily it did not close on me. So this is my home network. Since this is not actually in beta, it's pre-beta, I have to show you on my home network. So a couple ways that you can set scheduling. You can do it from the cameras page if you sort of want to do a bulk scheduling. So you can hit schedule and create a new schedule here. I'm going to show you how that works through a different menu. So we're going to click on this camera. I'm going to hit settings, and I'm going to hit quality and retention. So on this brand new page that has a slight issue, but again, pre-beta, we can go ahead and set a schedule by adding a schedule here, creating a new schedule. We can name it. So these are basically schedule templates, if you want to think of it that way. So I'm going to call this test schedule, and I can drag and drop these, very intuitive. What's really cool is that since we know customers are going to want really customized recording schedules, you can actually select multiple periods during the day in which you can record. So that means you can get really, really granular with it and choose exactly when you want the cameras to record. I'm going to X out of that. So the really cool part that I alluded to is our motion-based retention. So I already had enabled it here. And we can choose our video quality, and if you look at this box down here, it actually gives me a real readout, a dynamic readout of how much motion this specific camera has seen during the last week. So these are real numbers. It's not, you know, an example. See that for this camera, we've seen an average of 7 hours of motion per day for the last week, and based on that value, the dashboard is estimating that I can have up to 72 days of retention if I'm filming at standard quality on this camera. So that's incredibly exciting. Obviously, this is just one example of one camera, but you can see that easily you can get past 90 days on cameras if you're not expecting a ton of motion in that area. So hopefully you guys are as excited as I am, and as you know, the whole MV team is about these features, and we're really excited to get these into your hands. Actually, that reminds me, I do want to show you really quickly how you can enable these features on your cameras once they come in beta. So you're going to go to Network-Wide General and come down to the Firmware Upgrades section. Simply turn on Yes to try beta firmware. And as soon as these features come out in beta, they will be enabled on your dashboard and you can start testing them. So I'm going to hand over back to Simon.
Thanks, Rachel. That's a very exciting update. We told you we had something a little special for you today, so we can't wait for you to try this out. Now, I would like to introduce, we have a special guest joining us today, and actually, that's the wrong slide. That's the wrong presentation. Let me get on to MX. We're going to do MX first, and then we'll have our special guest. You can tell this is a live show, can you not? Right, so this is an MX update. I'm going to cover this today, and so we wanted to show you a few updates that we've been doing on MX over the last quarter, a few sort of enhancements to the UI which you can take advantage of. First of all, SD-WAN settings. So SD-WAN has obviously been a huge hit for us. We found that this is getting great uptake. It's a fantastic way to take full advantage of our capability of creating multiple VPNs across a wide area network. Essentially, this lets you save significant money over a traditional MPLS-based approach, and it still gives you the flexibility to be able to determine which forwarding path you want to use for a particular type of traffic, be that either manually or using what we call dynamic path selection, which will go and figure out for itself whether the quality of the link you're using is going to sustain the type of application that you're wanting to run over it. So this is really what we mean by software-defined wide area networking. Define what it is that you want to do with your wide area network. The technology will then take care of it for you. Templates really do help a lot of our customers with distributed environments to be able to deploy settings easily to multiple locations, so very popular with some of our larger customers. And so what we've done is gone ahead and added in the ability to set those SD-WAN settings now as of an MX template environment. So you simply go in as you would to normally configure this in a security appliance, but you're doing it under a template, which means that every MX which is bound to that template will then get those SD-WAN settings. I think even more exciting than this, and really this slide doesn't quite do it justice, this is definitely something you'll want to try out and see for yourself, and this is layer 7 definitions for SD-WAN. We're very excited about this one. Up until now, you've needed to really know the IP address or the port, and we've been able to do some clever tricks around voice over IP, but we're now moving things forward to a point where we can use a layer 7 definition for a type of traffic. So this could be something like Facebook, or it could be Google, for example. And you can determine that you want those applications to operate over a certain forwarding path unless there is degradation occurring on that path. So this is significant simplification, really, of setting up your software-defined wide area network. We've also been doing a lot of work on our wide platforms around device utilization. A lot of feedback that we've received from the field has told us that you really want to get a good sense of how hard these boxes are working. Now, we provide a sizing guide in the case of MX to enable you to accurately try to predict the level of performance you need and therefore which MX model is going to be appropriate for your particular deployment. But of course, things change over time. Businesses grow, amount of data tends to trend upwards over time. And so what we wanted to do is build in some tools to give you insight into how hard that box is working, but also to be able to pick out any anomalies that we see. So we're really applying some intelligence here. So for example, we can see a particular client or average use has gone up over the regular average that we see over an extended period. We're going to highlight that for you so that you can then perhaps address it. It's often the case that an anomaly may be caused by some kind of problem, or maybe something else has changed in your networking environment. We're going to give you the insight to be able to identify that early so that you can get it fixed before it starts to impact end users. Now, we put this one up last quarter as well, but it's been very slightly delayed, so we're very happy to announce a little bit later in May we're going to be fully releasing the Amazon Web Services capability. So this is something which you can already try. It's been in beta for a while now, still available for you if you'd like to try it out ahead of full release. And this is going to enable you to build a virtual MX within the Amazon Web Services environment. That means that if you are a customer of AWS, you're using maybe some of their services, perhaps to power your own business, you're going to be able to create a simple VPN using Meraki's AutoVPN technology straight into the AWS cloud environment. Obviously from there, easy to hop onto your virtual machines that you've got set up in that cloud environment. So definitely a really nice step forward for our AWS customers. And then for those of you who are into your fully advanced wide area networking protocols, BGP support is now going in to the MX. Again, this is something which you can try in beta. So definitely encourage you to get that set up if you'd like to see, if you're already working in a BGP environment, we'd love to get some customers trying that out and let us know how you get on with it. Okay, so after the last full start, it's now time to introduce our special guest star for this morning. Lawrence Wang, he's confused. He doesn't recognize this designation, but we definitely think of him as that. So Lawrence, I'm going to hand over to you to take us through an update on Meraki switching.
Hey, thanks a lot, Simon. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I think what Rachel presented, talking about some of the features that MV recently added, really driven by your customer wishes. That's really a big part of some of the recent updates on the Meraki switch line. We literally get hundreds of wishes a day, thousands over a month, and for us, it's really looking in aggregate to see what our customer base is really asking for, so we can deliver a better product for you day after day, year after year. A big recent addition to the Meraki switch line is the ability to see historical port bandwidth and consumption. This has been a hugely popular feature request that's been going on for a long time. Before it used to be, this visibility was at a switch level. Now we brought it down to a port level. And really the goal here for many of our customers is to be able to isolate anomalies and trends down to individual ports because there may be specific devices that may trigger a desire to inspect it more closely. And this is now available today, and no new firmware update required. So take a closer look in dashboard if you haven't logged onto your switch section recently. This is now live and available for you. Now, the next addition, also through a huge popular demand by our Make-A-Wish, is the ability to look at both live as well as historical packet counters. And the idea here is that oftentimes when you're running into some troubleshooting scenarios, you want to see what's happening. Maybe there's some layer 1 issues that may exist in the network. Looking at things like packet counters, CRC errors, both with live data as well as historical data, allow you to quickly see if there's an issue with a particular link. Before, in case you don't remember what this feature looked like, it used to be just with live data that would aggregate and refresh every 24 hours. Now several options to provide you more granular time windows to quickly see what's actually happening. So again, just like the historical port counters, this is also live and ready to ship as well. So take a look in dashboard. Now, switch templates, it's a hugely popular feature with many of our retail customers. In retail, we have many customers who want to keep a really consistent switch configuration deployment. You can imagine if you're configuring a handful of switches for a couple of sites, a little deviation is not a big deal, but when you're multiplying that by 1,000, 10,000 or more, being able to maintain consistency is really important. Now, with the recent addition of our MS225 and 250, which are stackable access switches, templates did not work. But that was something that we knew we had to quickly add, and we now added switch template support for switches that are now stacked together. So for our customers who use switch templates, I'm sure this is going to be welcome news to you. And again, templates is an amazing feature because it allows you to maintain consistency. And what's even better is that we also added in dashboard, and this is already there, the ability to quickly audit to see if there are devices that are out of sync from your desired template configuration. So this large scalability and automation that Meraki brings, we consistently think about how we add this to new features that we build. Now, a really exciting new thing that we're currently betaing is a new summary report page, and there's a lot to take in here. At a high level, if you think about where Meraki started, really simplifying management of wireless networks, extending that to switching and security appliances, that was great for many of our customers because it was a game changer in how they thought about how they can manage their access network. Now, over time, Meraki added incredible visibility, so being able to see clients and applications quickly right through dashboard. Now, for many of our customers, what they've been asking for is, well, great, we have this visibility into our network because of the intelligence that you build into the Meraki products, but help us, bring that visibility even further. And so one of the things that we're adding to this new summary report page is our initial foray into anomaly detection. So really being able to see anomalous patterns that exist, whether it's traffic or applications, being able to quickly see at a glance for a given time period if there's higher than normal bandwidth usage, for example. So this is something where we think is a great new step in terms of enhancing the that we already provide and making sure that actionable data is front and center when our customers look at this new summary report page. In addition, we also refreshed it to just in general be cleaner, be more consistent with some of the new pages we built in Dashboard, and this is really going to provide that next generation summary report experience for our customers that rely on this heavily used feature. So quick and short update, but I'm going to turn it back over to Simon, who's going to help close us out.
Thanks a lot for joining us, Lawrence. We appreciate that update on the switches. And takes us through the whole portfolio, so hopefully that's been a useful update for you. We've certainly had some pretty exciting announcements in there across some of our product lines this time around. Always the case, so obviously we'll have more to share in 1 quarter exactly from now. Let's take a few minutes to have a look at some of the questions that have come in, and if you have any last-minute questions, now would be a good time to ask those or tuck them into the tool, and I'll just run through some of the ones that we've got in here before we wrap things up. So it's a very long list. Bear with me a second while I head down the list and look what we're here. So we did have a couple of questions around Systems Manager and its current status from a licensing and trialing perspective. If you want to try out some of the features that you saw today, we do have Systems Manager on the regular trial program with Meraki. So you can get set up for a 30-day period to try this out for yourself and see if it's going to be a good fit for you. As always, we always get asked if people can catch up with this later on. So we do always record these webinars, the quarterlies, and we will have a recording up on YouTube, hopefully by the end of today, but certainly by the end of the week, so that you can recap on any of the details that you've seen during the session today. Bear with me. We had a question around the MR74, the outdoor access point that Emily showed us today. That one comes with a 1-year warranty, which is common for all of our outdoor APs, and actually compares very favorably with the industry average for outdoor wireless access points. Obviously, those do suffer some very extreme environments in terms of temperature range, and these APs can handle anything from -40 to +40 Celsius, so very extreme temperature range there. Question around signal strength on the APs. Yes, absolutely, you can change that. Just go to radio settings. You have a number of different choices here. Obviously, under normal circumstances, this is all figured out automatically using the cloud as, if you like, the central brain that's constantly analyzing the wireless environment to determine what power levels and channels are required. But if you need to, you can go in and tweak those settings. You can also change the channel widths. So we're able to support up to 160 megahertz wide channels now, but in a typical workplace environment, that's really just not going to work at all. So you need to cut it down to a much narrower channel width to support a high density of users. That's typical in the Meraki office here, for example, where we actually use 20 megahertz wide channels just due to the sheer level of device density that we have in this building. That's what we're able to then support through the APs. We had a couple of questions around service providers for MC, and so obviously June took us through the introduction of Telnix for Canada. We're very excited to be extending the product beyond the United States, where we use Intel up here, and we have been doing so successfully for just coming up to a year now. We are looking at other geographies as well, and this is a high priority for us. So we're looking at various different technical and business commercial solutions to enable you to operate MC in other parts of the world as well. And we're very well aware of the demand for that, so we're going to get to that as quickly as we can. In regard to the Amazon Web Services stuff on MX, we had a question come in about Microsoft Azure, and of course we're very well aware that that's also a very significant cloud environment. So we're absolutely aware of that demand. We're going to be getting to Azure as quickly as we can. Obviously, we'll be happy to announce that at our earliest opportunity. A question come in about how Spark typically compares with Meraki MC as well. And so this is really a question we can answer in various different ways. I think for customers who are interested in looking at Cisco Spark as a broad solution, Spark has its own integrated calling platform, and so there's no reason not to go for that approach instead. It's still Cisco integrated products, obviously. We are working all the time to provide as much integration into all of the rest of the Cisco calling environments that exist. Complex world that's out there, but we're working as hard as we can to get that supported. Okay, just going through the list still, bear with me. So we had a question around the MV heat maps that we've had in place for a few months now. And you can just go into the analytics page and bring up the information there. So you'll be able to see the heat maps for all your different cameras, and a really nice way to get an indication of where you're seeing the majority of movement. And that information is also going to be indicative then of the kind of retention levels that you're going to be able to get with that solution, which Rachel took us through today. So it's definitely useful to be able to see that to help guide you. Okay, another question about video storage. Yes, it is possible to export a video that you determine that you need. So if you have a section of video that you want to be able to export from the tool, maybe to send to law enforcement, you can absolutely do that. Okay. Let's have a look through the list here. Yeah, a couple of questions around the device utilization features that we looked at. You should be able to see that if you are signed up for our beta program. So you can do that in dashboard, go in and check a box which says that you're ready and willing to look at beta features as we apply them to the dashboard. And then you should start to see those both for MX and MS, the stuff that we went through today. There was a question here about VPN Concentrator. That's not a product that we're supporting anymore. So if you are obviously using that already, then that's absolutely fine. But really what we're focused on now is these cloud-based public services like AWS and over time Azure as well, so that we can support those. Question here, quite a good question here around the confidentiality level of the information in this webinar and whether it's okay to tell your customers about it. This webinar is actually pretty much open as far as information that we share, and that's really why we're very careful about what forward-looking information we share on the Meraki Quarterly, but we're very happy for you to share anything that you've seen on the session today. In fact, we encourage it, because if we are introducing new features in beta, then we're obviously very keen for those to be tested out as thoroughly as possible. Okay, just time for a couple more questions. Let's have a look. So there's a good question here about other webinars and products that are available through those webinars. Obviously, we're very happy and keen to be able to get products from Meraki into your hands. This is something which we offer to people who are new to Meraki. So if you're attending a Meraki webinar for the first time, then you'll be eligible for either a free access point or a free switch, depending on really which webinar you're attending. And that's obviously to give you the chance to try Meraki out in your own environment. I think that's probably a good question on which to wrap things up. So from everybody here in the room, we'd like to thank you very much again for spending time with us today. Hope you found this session useful. We do love to get your feedback, so please do send that in to us. You can find us online on Twitter. That'd be a great way to do it, and we'd be very happy to refine this over time, make sure it's a great service to you. So with that, we hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.